Well, hello there, everyone. This is Penny of the infamous Share with Penny and MG fame. In addition to doing Share, or being a part of Share with MG, I do a whole slew of other things, not least of which is running a retirement home and hospice house for cats. That's going to be important in a moment. By way of introduction, I just want to explain that MG and I have created this holiday-free safe zone for people who find the December holidays and the build up to those holidays as maybe just a bit too much. It could be because of some traumatic association you've made, something bad happened, or you're in a difficult spot and you just don't want to deal with it. Or it could actually be that right now, it's just a bit too much. I mean, let's be honest. It's barely December. And already every commercial. Everyone. I'm losing my mind. So, whatever the reason is that the holidays are just a bit more than you want to deal with right now, here at Share, we are committed to providing a space where it's okay to tune out that cacophony for a while. Nobody here is going to judge you for it. Nobody really, we're not worried about that. But, as you're going to hear more than once over the course of the coming weeks, we understand that nature abhors a vacuum. So what happens when you say, I'm going to ignore all of this noise all around me and I'm not going to participate? Well, you've got to have something to fill that gap or you're going to lose your mind. So what we are trying to do is provide things, offer some activities, things you can do that will fill that space so that you're not feeling deprived. And in fact, you come out of it feeling much better. Now, December, which it is also the gateway to winter. And winter is particularly challenging for pet owners and animal lovers because it gets cold outside. And a lot of our animals, beloved animals, pets, or the wildlife around us, they're outside and it's below freezing and food is scarce and it's covered with snow and it's awful. Today, I'm going to talk about helping the cats that you have in your area around your house. And if they are outside cats for any reason, I'm going to provide some tools you can use and some ideas to prepare for them a space where they can be safe during the cold months ahead. And here in December, it's not quite so awful outside that you can't do the work. But in doing the work now, you're going to be ready for the rest of the winter. Now, I take in senior and hospice cats, and I do everything in my power to make them be indoor cats. In fact, I am a huge advocate of indoor-only cats. I really think that, our domesticated cats are really not wild animals. They do best with the companionship of people, even if they seem aloof. But I also know that to have strictly indoor cats is not always realistic. I mean, I have a lot of cats, and I've got at least 2 that have thwarted every effort I've made to keep them indoors. I'll tell you the stories of how they get out at some point. But they're outside a lot, so I need to make sure that when they are outside and when they choose to come home, they have a safe place to be. I know also that a lot of people have indoor-outdoor cats. Cats actually, a lot of them like to be outside. Not all of them, but a lot of them want to be outside. And, okay, I might not approve of it, but they're there. A third reason why I have to be realistic about this is that there are actually these things called barn cats. And in the agricultural community, they are super valuable. I mean, these aren't house cats. They don't come up and sit in your lap and purr and want to watch TV with you. But they are responsible for keeping barns and feed stocks and everything free of vermin so that the farmers have the supplies they need to get through their own winter. And fourthly, there are always going to be stray cats. There will always be feral cats. And sadly, there will always be dumped cats because there are a lot of people who sincerely believe that if they're tired of having a pet cat, the best thing they can do is just let them go somewhere. They have this idea that cats somehow have retained their wildness enough that they can survive. And they can for a while, but the winter proves to be too much. So we're going to talk about here the basic things that you can provide to a cat that lives outside or is outside so that they can make it comfortably through the winter. In generally, animals need a very few things. They need shelter, and they need food and water. Shelter we'll start with shelter because that's probably the first thing that you would want to provide. And it needs to be something that's sturdy and it needs to be built. So for shelter, what cats need, or really basically any animal, is they need to be dry, they need to be out of the wind, and they need to be insulated. So, we're talking about a box, but not just any box. Although boxes are great, and I do often have boxes on my porch, and inevitably I go outside and there's a cat in one of them. It's like, guys, really? But here's how you can do this. If you can go to like the dollar store, and maybe it's not going to cost $1, but you can get a big bin. You start with a big bin with a lid, affix the lid so it doesn't come off. Cut a hole in the side, a cat-size hole, and cats can make themselves very small. It's shocking how small they can actually make themselves. So you have a very small cat-size hole and this big bin. If you take that bin, stuff it with straw, and arrange it somewhere in a space where it's not likely to get buried in snow, where it's going to be sheltered from the wind, and you can aim the entrance away from the wind, you've created a shelter. It might not be perfect, but it's a shelter. You could throw things over the top of it to insulate it from the outside. Important things about the shelter that you create is, well, the saying is straw is for strays. People are often tempted to throw towels and blankets and things in there, but really those don't work. And the reason why is because towels and blankets absorb water. So if a wet cat goes in there, wet cat makes the blankets wet, everything freezes. This is not helpful. Straw, on the other hand, does not absorb water. It creates a barrier between the cat and the bottom. So if there is water and it melts, it will drip to the bottom. The cat's not going to be sitting in it. And the pockets of air within the straw itself are going to provide insulation. So, and the straw is going to stay dry. So you just stuff as much straw as you can in there. The cats will shove it out of the way. And, sure, make a pocket for them. But if you take pretty much any container, make a small opening that a cat can get into, stuff it with straw, and put it in a safe place, and maybe you can use duct tape and a little creativity. You can make a little flap so that, the cats can get in and out, but it'll shield it from the wind. Then you've created a shelter that's going to work. And, one step better is to use a styrofoam container. You can use, like, how when in the middle of summer you go fishing and you get to the convenience store and you're like, I forgot to get a cooler for all my soda that I'm going to drink on the boat. And you buy one of those cheap styrofoam coolers that you're just going to throw away. Well, don't throw it away. Keep it. Use a lot of duct tape on the outside of it to make it sturdy. Cut a cat-sized hole in it, and now you've got an insulated box. Again, put straw in it. Instant cat shelter. I recommend having several. I have 2 cats, 3 cats. 2 cats that I cannot keep inside, the little jerks. One cat that I finally gave up and just let him go out because otherwise he's a terror. And one cat that wants to be outside really bad, and one of these days he's going to get out. So I have enough shelters on my porch to accommodate all of these cats, so when they come home and I'm not there, they have a place to be. Another thing I do recommend is, if you can afford it, if you can get some sort of motion detection camera system, you can actually observe to see who's going in and out of your shelters. Because there are a lot of cats out where I live. There are way more cats than I thought there were. And I know that not because I see them with my own eyes, but they trip the cameras all the time. And I'm like, that is not my cat. So it's helpful to know who's coming and going. It's also helpful when we come to the next part, which is providing food and water. Having a camera means you can also tell who's eating the food, because I unfortunately have accidentally supported families of raccoons and possums as well, which is not exactly what I want to be doing. So food and water, they need to have not frozen food and not frozen water. That can be a problem in the middle of winter. Food is kind of easier. You just give them kibble. You find some kibble. It doesn't have to be the fanciest brand. I mean, these cats, they're probably eating whatever they can find. They're not going to be bothered by, the lower end kibble. They're going to be glad to have it, and it will help them. Water is another matter, because water tends to freeze. Because it's freezing, and that's why we call it that. So there's a couple solutions. One is, you can get some sort of heated water dish so it'll stay liquid. You can get these for all sorts of animals. You can get another option is to have another box. So a lot of people who take care of a lot of ferals create not only shelter boxes, but similar looking boxes that are just feeding stations. So inside these boxes, it's not, they still have straw and things in there to keep it dry, but they have water dishes and food bowls and heat lamps so that the water stays liquid. And the cats can hang out in there, but then they're going to want to leave anyway. So that's another option. And the third option is just to put your water dish in a safe place and observe it, and as often as you can catch it when it freezes, replace it, get the ice out of it and refill it with warm water so that there will always be liquid water. But offering water and offering plenty of food is important, because we, as mammals, just like cats and dogs and birds, we have to metabolize food in order to maintain our body temperature. And when it's cold out, we need to metabolize that much more. So having, calorie-rich foods is actually fine, okay? Let them eat all the calories they want. So just to reiterate a few things: shelter, straws for strays. You just need a box with a tiny door. You can put a flap on it. You can put stuff on the outside, strap it down, make sure it's out of the wind, but make sure in the inside it has straw so that they don't get wet in there. They can be in there and they can be dry. And straw also insulates. It's fantastic. As much as you can, they need liquid water and they need food. That can be a challenge, but there are lots of ways to manage that, including separate boxes just for food and water, or just diligently checking water dishes and food bowls. Another thing, to summarize, if you can do it, it's great to have a camera so you can observe to see who's coming in and out. If somebody's injured, maybe, I refer to them as people. So when I say somebody's injured, I'm referring to a cat. If you have an injured cat coming to your feeding stations, then you want to know about it, and then you can trap them and help them. as much as you can, or contact a rescue who can do it. But finally, December. Here we are, December. It's a holiday season. A lot of us are struggling with that, and we want to be free of all the noise. Well, December is the perfect time for projects that you can do outdoors to get ready for winter, to make sure the animals that live around your house, that are outside, have a place to be during the coldest months, which are right ahead. Not only will you be helping cats, you'll be helping yourself at the same time by giving yourself something to do besides watching those darn commercials on TV. And who knows, maybe you'll make a new feline friend.